Hello, friends, and welcome back to the shop. Today is Sunday, May 4th, and it is a cool, rainy Sunday morning here in southeastern Pennsylvania. It's cool enough that you might hear the furnace go off a couple times, and you'll probably hear the sump pump running in the background because we've gotten a fair amount of rain overnight. But that's okay. It helps with the garden, helps the garden to grow. And we're going to be talking about gardening a bit. But right now, let me get this pipe started. So this is one of my Irish second pipes, and I picked it today just because I wanted something with a relatively large bowl because I wanted to stuff some Samoy in there and get that lit. So the Samoy is the tobacco of the month this month. Not going to be talking about that today, just going to be enjoying it. Was just picked this past Friday, and I like to enjoy the tobacco of the month for a couple weeks, and then I'll do a impression video in a coming Sunday. But I will say this: it's a great tobacco for this time of year. Although I wish it was a little bit warmer than it is right now. There we go. So we had got just a mixed bag of stuff today. Nothing really important or no real point to this video. So if you'd rather have a video with a point, by all means, go move on. But if you just want to listen to me ramble a bit and tell you about my weekend, we went to a farmer's market yesterday. My wife likes going to these things. To me, they're all the same pretty much. You go and you might buy some arugula, which is what I bought yesterday, or some radishes or something, but uh, it's mostly people selling stuff that I've got zero interest in, like beef tallow cosmetics or microgreens. I don't understand microgreens. I'm sure they're very healthy and I'm sure they're delicious and everything else, but I mean, if you're going to go to all the trouble of sprouting a seed, let it grow into a plant and eat the adult greens, for goodness sakes. Uh, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's got a sort of hippie vibe that I'm not real comfortable with. But you get to chat with people, you get to see some unusual sights. There was a karate demonstration going on, which was like a bunch of 12-year-old kids standing out in a field, kicking and swinging around sticks and stuff, and uh, they were doing their best. I'll just leave it at that. They were doing their best, uh, but it was cute. And yeah, saw a couple dogs. It was a nice day. It was a beautiful day for it too. It didn't start to rain until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we had really nice, rather warm actually. Got it to be about 80 yesterday, and sunny, just perfect. And yeah, so walked around this large park and looked at all the stalls and everything. We got some lunch off of a food truck, which was okay. It was food truck food, but hey, it's better than not eating, I suppose. Uh, anyway, it was a lovely day. We had quite a good time, and my wife was happy. She got to buy some things she will probably never open. You got to get the spice mix and the weird herbal tea and whatever the latest organic product is that's going to change your life. She didn't go crazy. She just bought one or two things, and we got radishes and arugula. That was it. It was not a very expensive day, but it was fun. And I'm gonna have to build a cupboard to hold all the little jars of spices and things like that that my wife picks up over time. Um, and I get it. You hear them talk about how wonderful this is and whatnot, or you try a little sample of something, and you've got these visions of you using it all the time and everything, and you buy it and you get it home, and you just never get up that energy to actually do that thing. And the jar just sits in the cupboard until one day you pick it up and you go, well, where did this come from? And then someday you're gone and somebody else is cleaning out the cupboard and they go, huh, never heard of this junk, and throw it away. Yep, that's what life's all about. I went dark fast. But yeah, it was a good time. We did enjoy it. We did some raffle tickets for their fire companies having a fundraiser, and the local fire company also has it's a volunteer fire thing. They've partnered with a local winery, and the winery has made two wines that are specific for the fire company apparently, and every bottle that someone buys, $5 of that bottle goes to the fire company. Now, local Pennsylvania wine, I mean, there are actually some, well, there's one very good Pennsylvania winery that I'm aware of. Uh, I'm sure there are others. I just have had some very bad ones too. Uh, and when I say very good, I mean it's drinkable. It's hard to grow good wine grapes. So, um, and God bless them for trying. But so I'm sure that this is intriguing. But anyway, we're going to go to the tasting, and so that's one of the nice things about going to these local events, whether it be farmers markets or fire company fundraisers or whatever. You find out about the next thing to do, and you just can sort of get more involved in the community, or at least have things to do, and that becomes a problem as you get older. You don't have the same circle of friends. You're not all going out on Friday nights and stuff anymore, and you just fall into a rut unless you can find these things to do. Uh, Low energy, low investment, just something to get you out of the house once in a while. It's a good thing. So we're gonna be going to a wine tasting in a couple weeks. That'll be fun. Now we've done. This is going to sound like I'm bragging. I enjoy wine. I'm certainly not a wine snob. I couldn't tell you one year from another or anything like that. And I don't detect notes of old horse saddle leather or whatever. Um, but I like a nice glass of wine. And I've traveled a lot because of work, and have been fortunate to go to many countries. And I've done wine tastings at many vineyards all over the world. And I am not looking forward to doing this wine tasting, but it'll still be fun. It'll still be fun. Okay. Enough of that. Enough of disparagement of Pennsylvania wines. I wish I could remember the name of the winery that I do like. It's not very far from here, and they make some good quality Pinots. Begins with a K. Caramore. Caramore is the name of it. So if you want to look them up, just so I'm not completely bashing all PA wine, Caramore is a very good has a very good Pinot. Okay, didn't think I'd be talking about that. So I've been having a little bit of fun since uh, yesterday afternoon it got rainy and I wanted to do something. Uh, Not that I have a lack of things to do here in the shop, but since I've been spending time in the garden, I've got a collection of garden tools that need work. Just they've been abused for years. And uh, so last week I repaired, I don't know if you know what a scuttle hoe is. A lot of people don't know what a scuttle hoe is. I learned about them when I was a kid. The one that we had was called a hula hoe. Uh, but a scuttle hoe is basically, it's got a blade on it that's, um, no, it's like a hoop, but it's shaped like a D. So the flat part of the D, the this part of the D, uh, that's a blade that cuts through the soil as you pull back on the hoe, and they're wonderful for like weeding around things and weeding between rows and stuff like that. They're also a great way to very quickly turn over some soil or loosen up some soil. Uh, but it had gotten some rust on it. The handle needed attention, and it got a little bit bent out of shape, and I wanted to sharpen it up a little bit. So did that last weekend. This weekend, the project was a little bit more involved. It was this old rusty pitchfork that had broken, that the handle was broken on it. And so there were a couple of problems. The first is it actually broke inside of the ferrule. So let me just show you a picture here. Hopefully this will work. Yeah. So this is an example of the kind of ferrule that's on the pitchfork that I'm trying to repair. So you can see it's bent, and the handle actually bends inside of that. And that far end, the part where you can imagine the pitchfork would go into, uh, that the tang of the pitchfork sinks into the wood there, right up to about the point where that bend starts, where it kinks over. So that's what broke, and it broke inside of that ferrule. So basically, the handle had rotted away inside, right around that inflection point, and just fell out. And so I needed to get the old the fork out of that, and then figure out what to do next. Well, getting the fork out wasn't that hard. I just got a drill down in there and drilled the wood a bit, and it came right off. Uh, Getting that ferrule to refit turned out to be impossible because apparently the handle was shaped out of a piece of wood that was bigger than what you now have. I mean, that sounds kind of obvious, but you need enough meat on the wood to actually make that bend, and there isn't. So what I wound up doing was, and yes, I know I can go out and buy a new handle, and I may wind up doing that, but this is just a little pitchfork. It's not, I'll show you the handle in a minute. It's not one that I'm ever putting a lot of leverage on. It's just kind of like the chunk down in the ground and wiggle it around a little bit around a weed or something like that. I don't need that angle for ergonomics and leverage. I just don't need it for what I use this for. And I thought, well, let me see if I can fix this myself. So first off, the fork itself, and I wish I had some before and after photos, but there's the fork. That's all cleaned up and got a coat of oil on it. So that's fantastic. Got all the rust off of it. You can see that tang. It's a rectangular tang, and that's the problem. That's where I want to get some advice. I almost certainly am going to knock that over, and it'll make a loud noise. Okay, so here's where we're at with the handle. So, handle's been sanded down, refinished, and all that. The ferrule, I wound up cutting the ferrule. So this was originally bent, and I cut it to be just a straight ferrule, and my idea is I'm just going to drill and reinsert that. So this is not quite seated in. It still has a little bit of ways to go. I'm going to knock it down on there and probably grind it flat because I cut it at a bad angle because I'm not very good at such things. And I've cut, this was like that much longer, so I cut a fair amount off of this. Well, maybe that much longer. Anyway, you can see it's still a little bit waterlogged, not waterlogged, rotted, I guess, but the core is pretty solid. And I reshaped this so that this piece of ferrule will actually fit almost, and then can bang on a little bit further. So that'll give the needed compression on that and protect it from splitting. The problem is, how do I drill a rectangular hole? And I know you can't drill a rectangular hole. I've dealt with this in the past for lathe tools, or chisels, where you can drill in steps. So you start with the narrowest portion of that tang, go the full depth, and then you figure out something in the middle and you go half the depth, and then the widest part and you go maybe a quarter the depth. And that's okay for something that's not going to have a lot of pressure on it. Like a chisel, you're only ever pounding that chisel in a way that's going to tighten it into that. For something like a lathe tool, it's okay, but I'd probably put some epoxy in just to, belts and braces kind of thing. But for this, I just don't know what to do. I don't want to do that. The other problem with it is that if you do that, since this is rectangular and not square, you're winding up making a hole that gets increasingly wider than the tang is in one dimension. So in terms of the width of the tang, it will fit, but the height of the tang, that makes sense? So this part will be okay. Actually, now that I look at it, that's not even all that angled. Anyway, This would fit, but this will not. This is thinner. So even if I don't worry about this little angle here, just drill it straight, it's still not going to work because we're going to have lots of open space on either side here. So how do I do this? I could drill down and wiggle the drill back and forth, but that's not very satisfying either. I've seen people burn these in, like you heat up the end of it and just drive it in and it burns out the wood, and I guess you do that in a couple cycles until you get it seated properly. I could try that. I've never seen anybody do it with something this large. I've usually seen that with either, chisels or knives or something like that. So could I do that? What would you do? Would you just go buy a new handle? Probably. That's probably what I should do, but I've come this far. It's free. It keeps me off the streets, keeps me out of the bars. So I'm just going to continue with it. But let me know if you got any suggestions on how to make that mortise, because I would sure like to. And because I had just sanded that, I now have sawdust all over my pipe. Okay, well, such is life. Such is life. I don't have any garden pictures to show you yet because as of right now, it's still just straw on ground, and who wants to see a picture of straw on ground? Uh, I'm hoping to see spinach and arugula start to sprout sometime this week, which means I got to get that rabbit fence up. And next weekend, Mother's Day weekend, is our CSA's annual plant sale, which is where I like to buy my vegetables, my vegetable plants, the ones that I'm not starting from seed. So I'll probably be doing that hopefully Saturday. I think they're open on Saturday. So if that goes well, then next Sunday you'll get pictures of a garden with actual plants in it. In theory. There is some talk of going to Pittsburgh for Mother's Day. I think I've dodged that bullet. Not that it's a bullet, but I want to go to the plant sale, darn it. They only have it once, and I really want to get my plants from this place. But if my wife really is insistent, I know she's probably going. There's like a 90% chance that she's going to Pittsburgh, which makes sense because it's her mom's first Mother's Day without her dad and stuff. So I get that, and I encourage her to do it, but I don't want to go because I want to go to the CSA plant sale. I think I'm being perfectly reasonable. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes, and hopefully next weekend I will be able to show you some pictures of a garden with actual plants in it. So with that, guys, I think I've wasted more than enough of your Sunday. And I got stuff I've obviously got to do. But let me know. I'm not going to do anything with this pitchfork. I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the pitchfork down there. I'm not going to do anything with that until this evening at the earliest. So if you see this and you got an idea on how to make that hole, let me know what you would do. Or even if you don't have an idea, if you just want to choose between the ideas that I had. Or just don't tell me to go buy a new handle, because I know I can do that. I just don't want to. I'm not going to break anything, right? I'm not going to break the fork. So if worst comes to worst, I'll just go get a new handle. I might as well try to make do with this and see if I can make it work. It's fun. So, yes, let me know if you have any ideas. Samoy, good stuff. Be talking about that in a couple weeks. Thank you to the Friday Night live stream viewers for choosing it. It was there were three. There were three on the list, and one I was really hoping it wouldn't win. And the funny thing is, like slightly over 50% went for Samoy, and the vote was split between the other two. So that scares me. That scares me. But I think folks were just being nice to me. So we'll be back next Friday with another live stream. If you haven't seen our live stream, it's a lot of fun. It's not, there's no point to it. We just get together and talk about whatever comes up and smoke some pipes, have a few drinks, and have some laughs. It's a good time. So if you get the chance, check it out. It's every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and of course you can always watch the replay, uh, which is no fun unless you can watch the chat. So make sure you're set up so you can see the chat. Otherwise, it's just me talking, which is what this is. But it's stranger because I'm answering questions and stuff that you can't read. Uh, so join us for that. Join us next Sunday. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, thumbs up, all that. Trying to grow the community, and it's working. We're seeing more and more new folks come in, and it's a wonderful thing. So subscribe and like this video, and then every pipe video you see, subscribe and like, just so we can help the algorithm realize that we're here and get the word out. All right, folks, with that, have a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy your week ahead. And until we speak again, I will look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Bye now.